Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series preview show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time seeing a Racing News Now video, first off, welcome. This is a channel where we talk a lot of motorsports, mainly NASCAR, ARCA, IndyCar, Formula One. Those are the series that we cover as of now. There are plans to broaden that scope eventually, but for now, that is what we cover. Now, today for the Truck Series preview show, we are looking ahead to tonight's 18th annual 37 Kind Days 250 at the Kansas Speedway. And what I really would like to do with these preview shows, and unfortunately with the way the on-track schedule worked out today for the trucks, couldn't really do it. I would like to get these up after qualifying and before the race. So get everything on track done, and then we can talk about all of that and going into the race. Unfortunately, with the way the on-track schedule for the trucks will work today, that just wasn't going to happen. With truck qualifying at 5 o'clock tonight and then the race at 8, if we waited till after qualifying, recorded this, edited it, and put it up, this would have gone up about the time the race started, if not shortly afterwards. So there was no way that that was going to feasibly happen. So we had 2 practice sessions to talk about in this, except for now we only have 1 practice session to talk about because there was a lot of rain in Kansas City this morning. A lot of rain and storms and hail and lightning and all kinds of craziness about 8 o'clock this morning, just before, in the Kansas City area. That washed out the first practice session of this morning. They got the track dried in time for the second practice session late morning, and were able to get that in. So a very abbreviated practice time for the trucks today. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the racing tonight, as these guys did not get quite as much on-track time as they would have liked to have had before qualifying and before the race. The thing as we look down through the practice times here, a lot of these times were put up very early in the session. The track was a lot cooler and maybe even a little bit wetter or moist there early on in the session. And that, I believe, might have contributed to these faster speeds early in the session. Because if you look at a lot of these fast laps came from the second lap that these guys put down. The entire top 5 on this list, their fastest lap was their second lap out on track. So that should tell you a lot. Grant Enfinger in 6 is the first one that really wasn't an early lap. His fastest lap was his 20th lap on track. But as you can see, Matt Crafton put down a much faster lap than anyone else. 0.2 of a second faster than his teammate Myatt Snyder. Matt Crafton with that 30-40 that he laid down, over a full mile an hour faster than Myatt Snyder as well. So that bodes well for Matt Crafton tonight. I think it bodes well for ThorSport as a whole that they hold down the top 2. They have Grant Enfinger in 6th, and you can't see him on the graphic because you can only see the top 10, but Ben Rhodes slotted in 11th. And I think another thing that bodes well for the folks that don't like to see Kyle Busch win every race that he goes into, or that he enters in the Xfinity and trucks, he's 4th on the board. He is not the fastest truck here. In fact, Matt Crafton showed some Kyle Busch weakness by passing Kyle Busch late in the session. Brett Moffitt did the same thing. So I don't know that we're necessarily going to see a Kyle Busch win tonight. One thing to note here, if you're a Noah Gragson fan, he ran the most laps in this practice session at 44 laps and was still only able to muster 8th on the single lap charts. That might be concerning if you are a Noah Gragson fan, as they usually, when you run that many laps in practice, you're way off of what you want to be, and you're really searching for speed. And the fact that he ran that many laps and was only able to hit 8th on the charts does not bode well for him tonight. So I would not necessarily expect Noah Gragson to be up front contending for the win tonight. Now, the other thing to look at here is your best 10-lap consecutive averages. And this may not be a good sample of who is the best on long runs tonight, as that is generally what best 10-lap averages are. It's looking at who is going to be the fastest over long runs. There was only 11 trucks that ran 10 or more laps consecutively in this session. That being said, I don't think it's that much of a surprise that the top 4 guys on this list weren't even in the top 5 on the single lap charts, because generally that's how it works. If you've got a lot of long run speed, you don't have a lot of short run speed. Or if you have a lot of short run speed over a single lap or a couple of laps, you tend to fall off over the long run. That's not how it always works, but generally you have to compromise and really only get one or the other, unless you just have a fantastic truck or car that is just on rails and you're just fast no matter what. That being said, Ben Rhodes tops the 10-lap average list with an average speed of 173.533 over 10 laps. Now, if we look back up here, he wasn't on the graphic, so we didn't see what his actual speed was in single laps, because his single lap was that slow. He was 11th fastest on the board. His speed for the single lap fastest lap was 174.689. That means he only lost about a mile an hour over 10 laps. That is some scary consistent speed over the long run. Your next fastest guy on the 10-lap averages is Noah Gragson in second, 171.792. Noah Gragson's fastest lap was 175.251. Noah Gragson lost 4 miles an hour over a 10-lap average. That shows you how scary consistent Ben Rhodes was over that long run. That being said, we will move on to tonight's prediction. I'm going to shy away from the Kyle Busch prediction I made on Wednesday's R&N Talks. And this is what I would like to do going forward, is to make these predictions on these preview shows instead, as this gives us a better idea of who's actually going to be fast, rather than just guessing and looking at past histories at tracks. Now we can see who's actually fast on these weekends and actually see who can legitimately win these races. Because sometimes, I mean, you can look back through those old R&N Talks episodes for the past few weeks, and you can see some of those predictions I was way off. Hopefully this will kind of make the predictions a little bit better. That being said, I am going to shy away from the Kyle Busch prediction because I don't think he's going to win tonight. He's going to be up there. I mean, he's 4th fastest on the board, so he will be fast. That being said, I don't think he's going to win this race. I think Ben Rhodes wins this race. Ben Rhodes almost won this race last year, had the fastest truck, was beating Kyle Busch, was better than Kyle Busch in this race last year. Blows an engine late. Heartbreak. Should have been Ben Rhodes' first win. It was not. Fortunately, he was able to get that first win later in the season. But I think Ben Rhodes finally picks up that win tonight and redeems himself from last year's disappointment in this race. Ben Rhodes wins the 37 Kind Days 250. Now, before we wrap up, let's flash up the tune-in info here on the screen. For the rest of the day, for the Truck Series, we have qualifying at 5 p.m. That will be on Fox Sports 1. If you're watching on TV, and then on the radio on your local MRN affiliate and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90 as always. For the race tonight, 8:30 p.m. is the start time. Fox Sports 1 again is the TV station, your local MRN affiliate on the radio, and SiriusXM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. So that is your tune-in info for tonight. Be sure to head back over here to RNN later tonight after the race, and we will have your recap of the 37 kind days to 50. If you haven't done it already, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing from Racing News Now. Hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It's much appreciated when you do. And don't forget to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/racingnewsnow. Again, it is not required by any means, but we really do appreciate it when you do support us on Patreon. So with that, this has been the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series preview show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.